Hi, Maz Clark here, and before we get on with the show, just wanted to say that we are recording this over Zoom, so sometimes the internet connection gets a little tricky, and don't forget to follow Equality Reformers on Facebook and follow me at The Blind Humor. All the links are in the description. Alright, now we can get on with the show. Hi everyone, welcome to the Equality Reformers podcast. I'm Maz Clark, and I'm here with Herschel Bluestein-Levin, and this is the second episode. Herschel,
Hi.
how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Gonna have to go back to work next week, so not too excited about that. But other than that, doing good.
Well, I'm doing all right. The good news about going back to work is it looks like the House just passed a bill, and it includes hazard pay for all frontline workers.
Yeah, but I don't even think I'm considered a frontline worker.
So, you sure? Well,
Yeah, because we weren't allowed to work when they closed everything
even
down.
if you're not, it's still. Well, hopefully it still might be able to benefit you. I know that with us living in Texas, there isn't necessarily a lot of help.
No, not when you have a Chihuahua as the governor.
I think that's a little
A little what?
insulting to Chihuahuas. But I said I think. But anyway, we can go ahead and jump in. We just had our phone bank last Thursday, and it went pretty well. So in our phone bank, we were asking for additional coronavirus help for those who need it most, including a new stimulus check. And it's not law yet, but the House passed a new coronavirus relief, and it includes a $1,200 stimulus check for everybody.
Do you know if that was if it's another one-time payment or?
Yeah, it's going to be another one-time payment, and while the bill isn't everything that we were asking for, it's still a much-needed help.
Well, Sanders and his
two
co-sponsors are still trying to get the 2,000, so maybe they can still amend it and put the 2,000 monthly in there.
Right, there's still a push for additional help. Right now, this is kind of a compromise because it looks like the Senate will probably kill it as soon as it arrives. But it's an important first step to getting help for everyone. And while it's mostly a Democratic bill, there's Republican and Democratic support for it. And then, one thing to note about the bipartisan support, 80% of the provisions in the bill were supported by Republicans in the last bill. So hopefully it'll go through. And it's a lot more inclusive, and it includes pay to local governments, but also tribal governments. And it should include aid for undocumented workers too.
Yeah, and I would also like to point out that Steve Mnuchin, that ever so wise guy, kind of put himself out there because when they first released the first quote-unquote stimulus check, he said, well, it should last about 10 weeks. Well, here we are.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
This is another temporary measure. This is only another temporary measure. It would only provide help for a month, but it's at least a first step. And it also includes something interesting. In the last bill, I mentioned how much of it went to rich Americans that didn't actually help, the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 80% of the tax breaks went to people making over $1 million. Well, they are trying to remedy that in this bill and sort of end the corruption that happened from the last one. There's 2 tax provisions which remove individual and businesses' ability to write off that massive amount of money. So the last bill was expected to give $160 billion to the richest Americans, specifically hedge fund investors and real estate investors. And it specifically also helped Donald Trump's family, in particular Jared Kushner.
Mm-hmm.
In this bill, they're trying to basically roll that back, rewrite that so that we don't lose so much funding to the wealthiest Americans. It should be going to everybody else. And understand, a lot of the legislature said, hey, we didn't actually understand how big this was, and that's because it was only 12 pages of an 800-page bill.
Yeah, and I believe
Nobody
this new bill is
actually
quite
read
long.
the entire thing. Yeah, they both are. I actually opened it up to see about reading through some of it and kind of immediately gave up.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that they
I
make
saw how
these
long it
bills
was.
so long is because they know the normal person doesn't want to read through all of this, so they like to hide stuff in there that they know will eventually come out and bite them in the butt.
And these tax breaks, the wealthy people knew they were in there, but they were very well hidden from pretty much the rest of us. So, and it's difficult, when you're passing this around and trying to get people to vote for it, you add stuff in to hopefully sway their vote. So these things end up getting quite long. So, but anyway, hopefully this new one will remedy a lot of that and help the people that really need it.
Just curious, did you ever get your stimulus check?
No, I am yet to get it, and I've checked as recently as yesterday because I was looking. It hadn't come in.
Yeah, I never got one either.
Yeah, a lot of people were excluded. Like I said, students, those who were married to immigrants, a lot of Native American tribal communities never saw their money come in. So there were a lot of people left out of the last one that hopefully won't be left out of this one once it passes. And, it's worth noting that out of the legislatures that we called in our phone bank, out of the 10, 5 of them voted for it and 4 of them voted against it. One of them wasn't present that day. But
Was anybody able to actually get a hold of a representative, or still just the assistant?
No, we mostly called their offices and hit up their social media and their emails and a variety of different forms of contact. We never spoke to the representative themselves, but we definitely got heard by them. And that's what's important. And as we go forward, we're going to continue to pound at their door pretty much.
I know we're just calling congressmen, but I really wish I could get a hold of Ted Cruz. He said something like before that he was worried about spreading it to his constituents. I'm like, you never talk to your constituents. Are you talking about your rich donors? Because I've never seen you in public. I've seen you front row at a Houston Rockets game getting your picture taken so you can post it on social media and at Astros games and all that kind of stuff, but never in public. And also a coincidence, or maybe not, every game that Ted Cruz has gone to, we have lost. So
Well,
that's a fact, people. It's a fact.
No, it's, the reason we picked local representatives, members of the House, is because they tend to be fairly accessible. They've only got so many constituents where a senator has the whole state, and Ted Cruz is not very responsive to start with, but if you also factor in that he is overseeing all of Texas, it makes him pretty difficult to get through to. Doesn't mean we won't try in the future. In fact, we don't plan to stop with Congress. We plan to hit up mayors, city council members, a variety of different public officials as we go forward to try to move things.
I don't know how many of our members
from all different angles.
I don't know how many of our members or listeners were Bernie supporters, but if they were Bernie supporters and they donated and got on his email list, he's been sending out emails saying, sign this to show the Senate that you are for, $2,000 a month and other things that are in the bill like healthcare and stuff.
Yeah, Bernie hasn't stopped moving for a second.
Nope.
I see stuff from him every day. So, and he was using his campaign donation machine as a COVID relief fund as well, which I think is really cool. So
I don't know of any other candidate that was running or other Congress people. Maybe there are. I just don't know about it. But Bernie is the only one that used his donation list to be like, hey, instead of donating to me, and this was during his campaign, donate to this food bank or that food bank or this charity and that charity, which is pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I can't speak absolutely because I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't seen anything from any of the other candidates who run, attempting to do that sort of a thing. So
yeah,
no,
maybe there are. Maybe there are. Just haven't heard of it. But I thought it was cool that Bernie was doing that.
Yeah, me too. And as we're moving forward, I mentioned calling local officials. Mayors like the mayor of Houston have been really big in providing health care for the city and providing aid for all of those going through hardship. So it's pretty amazing what you can do when you get a hold of these small government officials. And they're a lot easier to get a hold of because your vote is much bigger to them than it is to some statewide national people.
And we are going to do this again on Thursday, the 21st. So for people who happen to come across this podcast and aren't part of the group yet, what do you want them to do on Thursday? What's the speech that you want them to do on the phone? How you want them to go at it with social media to the Congress people on Twitter or Facebook or whatever?
We'll have all that in writing, by the way. The phone break this Thursday is taking a little bit of a shift. In fact, today I'm calling an urgent meeting with the group to discuss it.
And today is the 19th, just in case everybody is wondering.
Agency. Right. Should mention that.
So you're calling an emergency meeting today.
ICE is trying to pull a fast one. Right. So ICE had passed around flyers giving families, migrant families who are held there, a choice. Either one, you keep your children in detention, risking them catching coronavirus. Or two, you give your children up to a relative or to state-run care. And after passing this around, they got some heat for it. They are now trying something new as of yesterday, I believe around 5 o'clock. In addition to that, see, the reason they want families to give up their children is because it's a lot easier to deport families that don't have children, A, and B, they're not allowed to actually hold families with children for more than 20 days. According to their rights, basically, there is no immigration, customs enforcement prison that is allowed to hold children more than 20 days. So first thing they did this week was they tried to get parents to give up their children, throw them into foster care. That didn't work. So now they're attempting to get them to waive their rights so that they can hold children in prison along with the families indefinitely. So our big push this week is we've got to, as quickly as possible, get a hold of our Congress members and our local officials to try to change this, because every second counts, and we're talking about families who are getting pressured into waiving their rights, children that will be held and, quite frankly, will almost definitely get sick while they're in custody. The immigration detention centers often hold people sometimes in the double digits in a single room. They all share one bathroom and sink. You know, as families are held in these cells, there is no way to stop the spread of COVID from going through their centers. And the families need to be released immediately. Very often they're released, by the way, after 20 days, assuming they don't waive their rights, because they can't hold children that long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our big urgent push this week, is trying to change that before we see families kept indefinitely.
So you think you might be pushing this on Thursday or both on Thursday? Or are you going to have one on one day and one another day?
For the moment, we're going to do this on Thursday on its own. The bill already passed the House. We will be contacting them again to try to push that further when negotiations pick up between them and the Senate. But
yeah, because you know it's going to come back. Yeah, it's definitely going to be knocked back to the House, and we need to be there. All right, so for this Thursday, it's going to be calling our Congress people and asking them and demanding for the rights of the people, the immigrants who are coming in and being detained by ICE. Right. No child, really nobody, but no child should be held because of their parents' immigration status in those jails. So, and I'm going to just make a note of reference. There were quite a few people who died when the flu came through on its own. So imagine once COVID does. Mm-hmm. And then this Saturday, we're also having a meeting. Is that correct? Yeah. So this Saturday at 6 o'clock, we are also having a meeting. All right. Is that all, or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
And if you guys, no, I'll go ahead and stop there for this week. We've got a lot more to put together for the meeting on Thursday. The meeting on Saturday. We're also going to work on getting food to food pantries, as we discussed, and trying to get some humanitarian aid going from our group.
Okay, that sounds great.
So, hope to see you all there.
Yep, hopefully we will see you all there. This is the Equality Reformers, and I'm Maz Clark, and he is
Herschel Bluestein Levin.
There you go. We'll see you next time.